Web development plus DSA plus aptitude and reasoning plus Web 3 plus Gen AI plus DevOps plus AWS. Episode 1, Code. 1. How the Internet Works. History of Web. Web 1.0 to Web 3.0. How computers communicate with each other. How computers send data all over the world. What is domain name, IP, and MAC addresses and routing. How ISP and DNS work together to deliver data. 2. Client-server architecture. What is client-server model? Difference between client, browser, and server, the computer hosting your website. How HTTP request and response cycle works. How browser talk to server. What happens when you visit a website? Difference between front-end and back-end. Front-end versus back-end. What are static websites and dynamic websites? What is web hosting and how it works? Jawar Laran. 3. Internet protocols. What is TCP protocol and why is widely used? How connection is established using TCP, three-way handshake. What is UDP and why it's used for fast communication? How UPD establishes connection. Difference between TCP and UPD. 4. Understanding HTTP and HTTPS. What is HTTP and its different version? HTTP status code for responses. What is HTTPS and why it's better than HTTP? How HTTPS provides a secure connection. What is SSL, TLS encryption? What are proxy and reverse proxy? How VPN works and helps accessing restricted content. 5. Preparing your machine. Installing and setting up VS Code. Installing helpful extensions. Setting up your browser for development. What are file and folders and how to create them. Testing our environment by asserting a web page. Namaste Dunya. Episode 2. Stage 1. Starting with HTML. Understanding HTML and its use cases. Creating first HTML page in VS Code. Understand HTML structure. Understanding tags and building simple HTML page. Doc type. HTML, head, title, body. Working with text elements, H tags, P tag, BR tag, A tag, span, code, pray. Working with HTML lists, ordered and unordered lists. Ol, ul, lie. Understanding concept of nested elements in HTML. Working with media tags, img, video, audio, HTML attributes, ref, target, alt, src, width, height. Navigating between pages. Course 2. More on HTML. Understanding semantic tags. Article, section, main, aside, form, footer, header, details, figure. Differentiating between block and inline elements. Text formatting tags in HTML. B, string, I, small, ins, sub, sup, del, mark. Working with HTML tables, table, TD, tier 3. HTML forms and inputs. What is form and why it's important? Creating a simple form with tags. Form, input, text area, select, button, label, types of input fields, checkbox, text, color, file, tell, date, number, radio, submit, range, attributes of form elements, method, actions, target, no validate, ink type, name, required, placeholder, SHA, wrong for. Media tags in HTML, understanding with autoplay, controls, media, using source element for alternative media files. 5. Basics of CSS, cascading style sheet, introduction to CSS and why it is important, understanding syntax, selectors, and comments in CSS, adding CSS to HTML page, inline, internal, external, understanding difference between selectors, class, ID, element, understanding precedence of selectors, how to style text using CSS, font family, font style, font weight, line height, text decoration, text align, text transform, letter spacing, word spacing, text shadow. 6. Styling with CSS, working with colors in CSS, name, RGB, etc. Working with CSS units, %, px, rem, em, vw, vh, min, max. Working with borders and border styling, working with box properties, margin, padding, box sizing, height, width, understanding background properties, background size, background attachment, background image, background repeat, background position, linear gradient, implementing shadow property. Dafyachan 7. More about CSS, applying display properties, inline, grid, flex, none, inline block, etc. Introduction to flexbox for aligning and structure. Flex direction, order, flex wrap, flex grow, flex shrink, justify content, align items, align content, align self, flex basis, shorthand properties of flex, understanding flex grid for making grids using CSS, working with positional properties, absolute are. Elements, hover, focus, after, before, active. Learning CSS transitions, properties, duration, timing functions, delays. Creating with transform, translate, rotate, scale, skew, transform, rotate. Working with 3D transform, translate 3D translate, Z scale, 3D scale, Z rotate 3D rotate Z. Understanding CSS animation at keyframes. The RAR. 9. Responsive with CSS. Difference between mobile first and desktop first website, mobile first versus desktop first. Measurement units for responsive design, px, pixel, in inch, millimeter, percent, rem, using viewport meta element for responsive, setting up images and typography for responsiveness. What are media queries? Media, max width, min width, using different functions of CSS, clamp, max, min. Understand HTML structure for responsive design. Theory 10 working with Sass, sassy, my favorite. What is Sass? Variables, nesting, mixins, functions and operators, setting up environment for SCSS, SCSS or Sass, and setting up SCSS. SARS 11. Basics of JavaScript with ES6 plus features. Introduction to JavaScript, why it is important, and what can it do for you. How to link JavaScript files using script tag. Running JavaScript in the browser console. Variables and keywords in JavaScript, var, let, const. Logging with JavaScript, console.log, console.info, console.warn, prompt, alert. Working with string in JS in there, splice, slice, template string, split, place, includes. What are statement and semicolons in JS? How to add comments in JavaScript. What are expression in JS and difference between expression and statement? JavaScript data types. Float, number, string, boolean, null, array, object, symbol, undefined. Some important values, undefined, null, nan, infinity. Relative and primitive data type in JavaScript. Basic operators, arithmetic, assignment, increment, decrement, comparison, logical bitwise, plus, and more. Variable hoisting in JavaScript. Loops and conditionals in JavaScript. Understanding condition operator in JavaScript. If, else, else if. Ternary operator, switch. For loop in JavaScript. While, loop in JavaScript. Do, while in JavaScript. For each in JavaScript. For in loop in JavaScript. For of loop in JavaScript. Version in JavaScript. Loop control statements. Break, continue, 13. Functions in JavaScript. Understanding function in JavaScript and why it's widely used. Parameters, arguments, rest parameters, hoisting, variable hoisting, function hoisting. Parameters in JavaScript. Required, destructured, rest, default. Arguments in JavaScript. Positional, default, spread, classic function, nested function, function within function, scope chain in JavaScript. Understanding immediately invoked function expression, IFE. More functions in JavaScript. Arrow function, fat arrow, anonymous, higher order, callback, first class, pure function, impure function. Understanding scoping in JS. Global scope, function scope. Understanding closures, scoping rule. 14. Arrays and objects in JavaScript. What are arrays in JavaScript and how to create an array? Understand how to accessing elements in array. Functions on arrays, push, pop, shift, unshift, index of, array structuring, filter, sum, map, reduce, spread operator, slice, reverse, sort, join, toString, iterating over arrays using, for loop, for each, understanding what are objects in JavaScript, key value pair, creating objects, accessing properties, deleting property, and nested objects. Recognize how objects are stored, traverse keys of an object, arrays object. Timing events, set timeout, set interval, clear interval, operation and objects, freeze, seal, destructuring, object methods, as keyword. 15. Document object model manipulation, introduction to DOM in JavaScript, understanding DOM structure and tree, nodes, elements, document, fetching elements in DOM, document.getElement by id, document.getElements by tag name, document.getElements by class name, document.querySelector all, document.querySelector, DOM tree traversal, parent node, child nodes, first child, next sibling, manipulating DOM element in JavaScript, inner HTML, text content, set attribute, get attribute, style property, class list, create and removing DOM elements, create element.